Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for clicking on the video if you're new. I thought I'd do something different today and make a prediction. I don't think I've ever made a prediction, so I think this would be quite fun. I'll go on to explain why, but I think we're going to see a return of the Boston marriage. And I'd never heard of this term until literally about a month or so ago. I heard someone discuss it in a podcast and they were talking about the concept of a Boston marriage. And I was like, well, what's this? And for those uninitiated, a Boston marriage is a historical term from the late 19th and early 20th centuries, describing the cohabitation of two independent women who live together without financial support from a man. These long-term partnerships range from deeply romantic and potentially intimate relationships to platonic, companionship, and professional collaborations. So when I was in university, I did a semester on homosexuality within literature. So I was familiar with, if I get this right off the top of my head, the Ladies of Llangollen, which were two ladies that lived together. And then there was Anne Lister and Anne Lister's Diaries, and I've seen Gentleman Jack on TV. So we've always known that there's always been queerness and homosexuality within culture. I have to preface this by anyone watching that I am straight. I'm not gay myself, but I'm really interested in the concept of the Boston marriage and how basically there's no way for us to know 100% if these relationships were intimate or if they were literally for financial reasons. And in a way, I'm more interested in the ones that weren't. And why I'm talking about this now is that the term Boston marriage was for women to live safely and securely without the financial dependence on a man. And women were doing this for necessity in some cases. They weren't always doing it through choice. And I think a lot of people probably romanticize it and just say that it's just lesbians being lesbians. Also the double standards of how being lesbian was not seen as true homosexuality. So these women were not criminalized in the same way that men were. These women could just go around living their friendships, and there was generally this concept and belief that women would not do these kind of things. So if you did have two women living together in a house, it was seen as they're just friends. Women couldn't possibly reach such stages of deviance with each other. And I generally think we'll move over into this era for modern day women. And I've said before in other videos how this is a turning point in modern times, really. This is the first time in history where everything has swung back to women needing a second person for financial security. For the majority of cases, the trope of the girl boss female doing it on her own and having a successful corporate job and buying a house is pretty much a pipe dream. It doesn't exist anymore. And this is the first time in history where I think we're going to swing back the other way. We're going to swing back to women needing that second income. I think the cases and the days of sisters doing it for themselves are long gone. And I generally think once women get to a certain age, they will enter into the platonic Boston marriage. I generally think women will start coupling up with each other in a platonic way. And I think it's probably a smart move. I mean, I've definitely seen cases on social media where single mums have gone in and property together. And I think it's a smart move. The children get to socialize together. The woman gets another woman to lean on for emotional and possible financial support. I think it's a smart move. And I generally think after a certain age, if women do not have the luxury of being able to afford their own place, I generally think this will become more and more common. Women will enter into a Boston marriage with their friends. They will start living together with other females. I think it is the logical step because this is sadly the difference between males and females, I believe on the whole, is that when a female doesn't get the type of man that she wants or the type of man that she finds attractive, she will pull back entirely. She will pull back and she will concentrate on her hobbies and her career and her friends and family, and she will pull back. Whereas I generally think, on the whole, for men are more likely to date a woman that they are not interested in. They will tend to enter into placeholder relationships. Obviously, not all men, but I think there is a higher chance for men to enter into a abusive dynamic because they are with a woman that they do not want and they do not desire. So if a man enters into a relationship with a woman that he doesn't want because he doesn't want to be alone, that's when he starts negging the woman. That's when he starts being abusive, is because he's not in the relationship that he wants. And instead of leaving, he will put all his insecurities onto the women. And I think you're probably like, why are you saying this? And I think I'm saying this because I generally believe this happened to me. Men were with me, but for whatever reason, I wasn't what they wanted. And if you are not what the man wants, he tends to blame it on you. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this. You're going to see a lot more of women coupling up with other women in these platonic arrangements. Maybe they will just rent together. Maybe it won't be permanent, as in buying real estate and houses. Maybe it will just be a kind of financial solution. But I generally feel we're going to see more of the Boston marriages, because I generally think when women get to a certain age, they realize that they have two options. They either settle for a partner that they don't want just to have a family, or they pull back entirely and think, okay, I have to do something else. And I think it is kind of my prediction going forward. I think women will choose friendship over men. And like we always say, it's not a female, on the whole, it's not a female loneliness crisis, it's a male loneliness crisis. And we have to think, on some level, the women do not want the men. So they just pull themselves out of the dating game because they, on the whole, do not want the men. But let me add, I believe this choice on behalf of women, it will be the option B. It's always going to be the option B. It's going to be making the best of a bad situation because they didn't find the partner that they wanted. And I think also, why is this happening? This is happening because women can no longer afford property on their own. A lot of women would be perfectly happy to live on their own, to buy their own property. A lot of women do not see this as a hardship. But I generally think as things become worse politically and things become more unstable, there will not be this option of women buying property on their own. It's genuinely like we have regressed into Victorian times where women didn't have so much financial choice. I mean, it's not as if we're at the kind of stage where a woman's only choice was the whorehouse or the workhouse, but we still have this for women where financial freedom is getting harder and harder. And I generally think women will become more and more resourceful. And if women are out earning men, if women are more successful than men, if women are becoming, you could even argue, more intelligent because they're applying themselves, then these type of women will refuse to marry men they are not attracted to, even for financial reasons. Even if we go back to a time where women solely need men for financial reasons, they will not cave. They will always choose the sisterhood over other men. A woman would rather enter into a Boston marriage and a platonic financial arrangement with a female friend rather than enter into a situation with a man that she's not physically attracted to, she's not intellectually attracted to. Women will refuse to marry and have children with someone they are not physically and emotionally attracted to. They would generally rather die. Whereas I don't think the same is for men. Who knows? I don't think it's the same for all men. I see a lot of men also that refuse to settle, and maybe the same is for men. Maybe men would prefer to house share with other men, go into kind of living situations with other men because they are not finding the type of women that they want either. Maybe it's the same for both genders, who knows? But I can only speak for women, and I know that women will point blank refuse to enter into situations with men that they're not physically and emotionally attracted to. They will be resourceful. They will find other ways around this. And I think, yeah, I'm going to call it, put my little prediction online. It might not happen in the interim. It might take maybe 5 or 10 years. So this is more a forecast. But I generally believe that once women reach maybe their 40s or 50s and they haven't found anyone, this will become more popular. And it will become more popular because the days of the single woman girl bossing in her own house with her own house and a dog are kind of gone for the majority of people. People are really struggling financially, and the girl boss days are generally gone. Now, due to systemic issues out of everyone's control, it's going to happen. Is Boston a nice place? Just to end this video, if anyone lives in Boston, tell me what it's like. And let me know in the comments, if you're in a similar situation to me, would you consider entering a Boston marriage? Or would you rather just live alone if you are financially able to? Love you guys.